Hour 2 of the big show. Bison men's basketball head coach Dave Richman joins us. NDSU in action tomorrow night. Oral Roberts on CBS-SN, and then on Saturday with Denver coming to town as we've hit the stretch run. I know he'll probably roll his eyes at me about that. That's a broadcasting and coaching cliche. But here we go. 3 weeks left and still a lot to be decided. You got to be pumped for a big opportunity at home on national TV tomorrow night.
Absolutely. And is that the broadcasting thing where you say last minute of a game where you don't need a three? That's what Wes Offerman says broadcasters always say too. You don't need a three yet. You don't need a three yet.
I ask on that because, I don't know anything. Normally I defer to Steeman or Freddie on that. That's not my cup of tea. So
that's good. That's good. That's a smart move. Yeah, no, we're good. We're great. A lot of perspective in life about some things. I'm certainly disappointed with the outcome and the process that led to that outcome on Saturday afternoon. And those things pleased. I thought our guys, after losing a couple in a row and some tough ones, responded very well against a physical Kansas City team that we knew was going to be hungry. All that being said, the win, the loss, it's in the past, and a big core value of ours is endurance. And the guys have been great Monday at practice, yesterday morning at practice, and assume they'll be in a great space this afternoon. We got a tremendous opportunity on tomorrow night, national television, to do some things that we didn't do very well against these guys last time. 96 to 110 is, yeah, it's something.
That's one word for it. I know you're going to say.
I tell you what, it's not comfortable basketball for Dave Richman. But I like this opportunity in front of us. And I don't shy away from saying, you look at our 5 losses in league, they've all been against the teams that have been above us.
Right.
And so if you're Oral Roberts, you take that one way or the other, right? And I don't care about that. I don't care about Oral Roberts. What I mean is Oral Roberts scored 96 damn points against us last time. And tomorrow night it's going to be an opportunity to see how our guys respond from an understanding that that's not good enough to ultimately get to where we want to be. And we got to be, the thing that I really reflected on is we have everything we need. It's making sure that we understand the little things, the details for more consistent stretches, for longer stretches.
Is that one of those wins you and I think we were talking about last week's show? Like, yeah, we're winning, but I'm not sure how good we're playing. Is that direct line to that game in Tulsa, what you're talking about?
Boom, drop the mic. There you go.
Yeah.
And again, it's a hard line for a 46-year-old head coach that, we've been able to sustain a fair amount of success. So you understand things, but then you are articulating things to a group that are they understanding things just from a win or from a loss? And at the end of the day, it's a win. Now, I will say at this time, Dom, after that, our guys responded terrifically against Denver.
Yeah.
They really did. We enjoyed that win. The next morning, a message was sent, a pretty clear, direct message. We responded very well. Normally, our guys have responded terrifically. What we've got to do is get into a position where it doesn't always take a response. It takes an understanding that it's just now what's next. We got to continue to push forward.
We're watching some of the highlights, Dave, from the game Saturday at Omaha. I know people see the box score and Tajavis Miller play just a minute. Can you give us an update of what happened with Tajavis in the game on Saturday?
Yeah, I don't want to get into specifics, but I do need to articulate it so it is crystal clear. It was a medical situation.
Okay.
And a difficult medical situation for me where, you have a coach hat on one side of you, and then you have a father hat on another side of you. And just with everything that was going on, I at the very end of the day made some decisions that it was just in the best interest to hold him out. I mean, it was a conversation that Coach Strage and I had at halftime of, damn it, my life is a lot of ways defined by a win or a loss, but at the end of the day, Dom, it's a game. I do anticipate that depending on how practice goes today with Tajavis, that we will have him this weekend.
Yep.
But there's some bigger picture perspective things that are on our radar with Tajavis. Now, and I say all those things because Tajavis and we've had our moments of this, and I want to be clear. Like there's not a young man that I love more than Tajavis. I'm so proud of the maturity and the strides he's made, certainly on the court, but more importantly off the court to get to where he's been on. And that's why I do want to articulate this situation. Do I think that had an effect on us Saturday? Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
Can we use that as an excuse? No, we can't. It was a was an interesting moment in a timeout, and I think that had an effect on our guys for a second. The minutes and rotations, certainly got affected. All that at the end of the day is an excuse, Dom, and we got to continue to figure out the way to be professionals no matter what's happening.
When you're seeing, a situation like that, and you've been doing this a while, I mean, there's no textbook for anything like this. So when you're handed something like a situation that happened on Saturday, how much does that not necessarily take you out of the moment, but also, like you said, okay, we got a situation here, and also worry about the basketball game?
Yeah. I feel like since day one that I slid over 12 inches into the head coaching chair, I'm like, gosh, this wasn't in the coaching 101 book. This wasn't in the coaching 101 book. Yeah, you're right. And at the end of the day, I care about what the people that really know me and realize who I am, my virtues, my values. That's what really matters. We've been able to, sustain a fair amount of success and win 200 plus games and do all those things. And that's great. At the end of the day, I want to be judged and reflected on the man that I am, the decisions that I made, no matter what. But you're right. I think about it. I do a lot of reflecting on football, but you think about those moments in a game when a stretcher comes out and it's something severe and how that can have an effect on a team, right? This is a brother. This is someone you spend a lot of time with. And for a moment, you're not concerned about the game. You are reflecting on what's happened with your brother, what's going on with your brother, and all those things. And it's a fine line because I'm feeling it. I'm wondering. I'm curious. At the same time, that clock's ticking, and
Yeah.
I think it's also a great example of life. I mean, this damn thing called life is hard. College basketball is hard, and the alarm clock's going to go off the next morning, and then the next morning, and I think it's important. I'm looking at my board. I've done a lot of, where you validate feelings, but at the same time, like professionals, you, me, whatever profession we're in, like we answer the call no matter what's going on. And we got to continue to grow and get better.
So last Wednesday, we're talking after the St. Thomas game, and Noah Federson didn't take a shot in that game. I don't know if anything subtle was said, because then on Thursday, Kansas City, he takes 8 shots and doesn't miss one. I mean, is that an 8? That's an A to Z from what happened with him over the 2-game
Yeah.
stretch.
And I think, Dom, like I need to continue to be honest and transparent. I think that's a little bit of a reflection of where Bison basketball is.
Yeah.
Right. And that is an unbelievable performance and a performance that I don't even think I realize the magnitude. I just get so caught up in the moment. Like he's got 17, he's got a double double.
Yeah.
And I don't know the last time anybody was perfect with that many 8, field goals. And it wasn't just this or that. I mean, he hit a 3 and he was having dunks and he was finishing around the rim. And I mean, I was so happy to see, but we go from none to 8 for 8 to this where that can't be us.
Yeah.
Down like a roller coaster turbulence on a plane. It gets sickening after a while, and we've got to figure out that hunger, humility mentality over and over and over again.
When you see that kind of performance, that's also, you're like, hey, you're capable of this. We got to see this on a nightly basis. Is there a gentle way to say that, or is like, you know what, this is, hey, we got to see this every night?
Again, that you're exactly right, and I don't want to keep belaboring the point or making this about Fetty, but I think that's it with me. The good or bad is okay. You've seen something, right? And now that what you've seen, that high level of something that you've seen, becomes an expectation every day. And fair or unfair, I think that's the challenge that you got to answer every day.
And that's, why you get paid the big bucks coaching 18 to 23-year-olds, right? Because there's no consistency, really.
Yeah, I don't know about the big bucks in all reality compared to what you're making.
Yeah.
Those are the real big bucks, right? We know if you can afford mustard pants, like you're making a lot of money.
Hey, I'm not on the broadcast tomorrow night. You got to pick on somebody else tomorrow, okay? Just so you know. I'm not that big time a guy. So
I don't know. I just had a Zoom this morning before you with Anna and Chris, who are doing the game tomorrow, and I don't know them as well as I know you, so I got to be careful.
Let's not. I don't want to make fun of this either, but this is a big deal. The fact that the Shack gets on CBSSN tomorrow night. That's an opportunity. You want to have a big crowd. That this is something that hasn't happened prior to a season ago with the Summer League getting nationally televised games for a chance to show off your arena and your basketball team tomorrow night.
No, I mean that, Dom. I think that's very big of you. Like WDAY is a tremendous partner, and we appreciate the partnership and your games and you guys calling them. but also in a sense for you realizing too the magnitude of this opportunity for us, and we want to continue to make our recruiting base, the 6 state area and all that, but at the same sense, you're starting to hear it and feel it in a lot of ways. And the success of basketball, the success of football, and all those things, it's become a national brand. And anytime that we get an opportunity to showcase a beautiful facility, a wonderful, passionate fan base, and we feel, for the better part, has been a pretty damn consistent product. Like, we got to take advantage of that opportunities. And I go back to the game last year with UND, and I didn't really think much of it. I didn't, and then I watched it back, and you hear the CBS, the montage of college basketball, and you see some of those things. It's a really cool deal.
The standings where we're at now. I mean, I know you're laser focused on, hey, we got Oral Roberts coming up, but are you looking now to say, oh, we got this many games left, this is where we can get to? Is that something you're spending a little bit of time on your day about?
Yeah. I mean, not a whole bunch, to be honest with you, just because it doesn't do us a good. Now, I did say, before we got off the bus Saturday night, like, the reality is some of our first step goals are probably going to be a long shot, right? We're going to need too many things to fall into place, and we got to be perfect down the stretch and all those things. But the main thing that we want to accomplish, and we've done it before, I even addressed the 18-19 season, where we've got to make sure and take opportunities to get better. In every single game, and every single loss, we've been right there, and we really have. The St. Thomas game, I think, was a buzzsaw. We walked into something there, and we need to be better. I think the game at Southern Illinois, without Jackson, we got ripped. But right there, I feel like for the better part, we've had leads, we've built leads, we've lost leads, we've done things to give ourselves the confidence that we need to have moving forward, that we can really do anything we want. At the same time, I think we've learned really quick that if we lose that focus, that confidence, those attention to details, we can do things the other way too. So it's a fine time. It's a fine line. And I know this, I talked about it. Tough times don't last, tough guys do. And we're going to see what our locker room, myself, our staff, our players, and everybody included, what that toughness level is down the stretch.
I have to ask, Brennan has had the face mask removed now for a couple weeks. How has the transition gone back to adjusting to normalcy, so to speak, on the basketball court?
Yeah, you'd have to ask him a little bit. I actually, when he walked out that day without it in practice, because he wanted to try it a little bit, it was like, oh, wow, this is different now. You got so used to it. And I do think B was pretty comfortable with it, and it protected him from the severity of what actually happened. But I do then also think it got to a point where, like, I'm going to have to make this tough, uncomfortable call to get rid of this thing, to ultimately getting back to my, to my biggest space, and that's playing without that thing.
And that's what his face actually looks like, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now he does have a pretty good scar right here. Like, and I just, again, I get so caught up in moments and situations, and then you start reflecting back on Fetty going 8 for 8. Wow, that's a really big deal. Jakari White had 8 assists against Kansas City. That's a really big deal. Brendan Watkins had a bone sticking out of his nose. That's a really big deal.
That's a really big deal.
Yeah, like when the doctor after says, "Hey, you need to go to the hospital right away to make sure this thing gets taken care of so it doesn't get infected." Like, okay, I think we will go to the hospital right away to get, and so that's what I mean about this group, Dom. You asked me, I don't know, on or off air about last year, like, nothing against that, like, but this group has got a rally behind them, and I love to be a part of it. And they're just wonderful players and young men that got a spirit about them no matter what's going on, and that's why I'm excited to move this damn thing forward and continue to work for it better and see what happens.
We'll break. We come back. We'll visit with Dave. A couple more minutes on Oral Roberts and matching up one more time with Isaac McBride, one of the all-time greats in the Summit League. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns on this Wednesday. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. A few minutes left with Bison men's basketball coach Dave Richman. NDSU taking on Oral Roberts tomorrow night, then Denver on Saturday as we come down the stretch run of just 3 weeks to go in regular season games. I think as we were lamenting last March of players that were departing in the portal. I thought Isaac McBride's name was in there, and then he pulled, which doesn't happen. He came back to his school, which I don't know if you shook your head about that or not, that he was coming back. Because, man, 2 years ago on that team, and I think you and I talked about this, when Max Asmus is getting all the headlines of that Oral Roberts team that was unbeaten, I think, great basketball mind that I am, I said to you, McBride might be their best player. And I believe you agreed with me.
All the things you said, then at the very last bit, you said, I believe you agreed with me. That part I don't.
Unbelievable. That doesn't ring a bell.
That would make it like 3 times then or 4 times. Yeah, I don't know. Like you expect the unexpected,
Yeah.
right? Like I just I remember we were waiting until the last minute, and then A. Smith comes back.
Yes. Yep.
I would have told you 6 months to a year ago that one of mine goes into the portal and they want to come back. I think I'm probably, I just think it's such a different
Yep.
situation. I really do. And I mean, there's just craziness, Dom, in
Yeah.
this whole deal. There really is. That now the Division II kid won the appeal. How does that affect things? I'm very proud of our program, and I'm going to say this sounds so arrogant. I'm proud of myself for embracing a lot of things and change and all this stuff. But excuse the language, but damn it, we need some parameters here pretty quick to know how we're operating.
No.
That's my biggest frustration. And I'll take different parameters, whether I like them or not. But you just need some parameters,
some rules on what the heck you're doing. People may see Oral Roberts' record, Dave, and say, "Oh, gosh, are they any good?" I guess I'll ask you, how good? I mean, I know they scored. You mentioned 96 on you the first time, so they're still scary offensively.
I think there's 2 things. I think they've got some very, very talented parts. I still think there's an understanding in that program that's not too far away from a lot of success, and some of those guys, including an Isaac McBride and a Russ Springman, that really understand, those things. And I apologize with my pronunciations, and I won't even try, but, number 64, Sam, that kid that's coming back, like, that's a specimen, and he can go at a bunch of different levels too. And so, it's hard to define their record too. When Sam was out with that, I believe it was a high ankle sprain. I think they're a different team that allows them to play different ways, and that size, that presence, that skill. They just played. South Dakota's been scoring 1 million points too, and that was a 75-76 or 74-75 game too. So, clearly Russ knows what he's doing, and they've maybe made some adjustments. But I think, for me, the defensive minded guy, like, it's always just gave up 96. You see their parts, and that's all you're focusing.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you were just talking about with the parameters part of that, because I know the lifeblood of what you want to do is still high school recruiting. But is there going to be a time, maybe not with North Dakota State, but you've already seen it with other mid majors, to say, you know what, we're gonna recruit the portal because that's where we feel like our bread can be buttered?
Yeah, there is. I think you're seeing that. They're seeing. I remember there's a kid in a certain area, and we called on him, and we like him. We like him a lot, and then we'll call a program that's sitting right next to this kid. We'll call the assistants and say, "Hey, why aren't you recruiting this kid? There's got to be some red flag. There's some smoke to that fire." And they'll be like, "No, he's a great kid. We like him. Actually, as a staff, we like him a lot. Coach doesn't want to recruit high school kids."
Wow.
There's things like that. There's other things. And I had a conversation with a coach in our league just yesterday where, he'll be talking to one of his buddies and they'll be asking about one of our kids. And already, I mean, it's just, and right away, it's like, I'm kind of taken back, and I'm like, that's a bunch of, and then I'm like, no, that's just where we're at. I mean, you're starting to see things now where I think I don't need to be quoted because I heard this, but I think Mark Few said something about, we're just going to start fining our players if they're whatever. And Patino said, we just paid more than Seton Hall did for whatever. Like, these things are just are spoken now.
Right. It used to be.
You know what, Dom? Again, I'm not complaining.
No, I know.
I'm not like let me hear that loud and clear. I love that our guys have an opportunity to do this. I love that there is, quote unquote, like I can take another job, they can take another job, however you want to label it. But every job has some parameters or contracts to it that we need to get some guardrails
Yeah.
on. And I'm not blaming this administration of the NCAA because I know there's some things above their head, but we've got to have some people to get to Congress to get to above their head so we can get some guidelines and not go back to where we were,
No.
but just have a path forward.
The quiet part out loud is what's being spoken now. What you're talking about with Patino and Few were saying, that was unspoken, or maybe said in a bar or somewhere after a game, and that's not the case anymore. I am intrigued on because I love following high school recruiting, where what's going to happen with a backload of kids that may not get looked at, that there's no room for it because we're going to take a guy from Duke. I don't know what's going to happen there.
I do think, and we've had these conversations, maybe not as much with just high school kids specifically, but you'll get a call I got a call last week from a buddy. Hey, we got this kid. He's doing this. He's got great grades. Why isn't he recruiting? And, I had to just articulate, understand this. Everybody has a path of, I'm going to graduate college. In college, I'm going to date my girlfriend. Then we're going to get engaged. Then we're going to get married. Then we're going to get a house. Then we're going to have kids. Then we're going to get a white picket fence, and we're going to get a dog, and everything just lays out, right? And so it normally was high school. Then I'm going to go to college, and whatever. We have to have a vision, or myself. I mean, you can help the narrative too, where maybe a path isn't always A to B to C to D anymore. Right.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean you can't ultimately accomplish what your goals of, I'm a high school kid, I want to play Division I basketball. Okay, that's great. Now you're going to have to eliminate your distractions and figure out a plan. And that plan might look a little different. Do I go to a junior college? Is there a different route? I hate to speak it, but am I going to this level and doing my work there and then going to that level? Again, I'm just, at the end of the day, just being Dave Richman, I just want to help people, and I need to help them by understanding the path isn't always A to B to C to D.
Always great conversation, bud. I appreciate it. Thanks for the time. We'll see you tomorrow night at the Shack, all right?
Appreciate you, brother. Have a good one.
Dave Richman, NDSU men's basketball head coach, joins us each and every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And a reminder, the Bison game tomorrow with Oral Roberts is a CBS SN. That's the second one that NDSU had picked up. So the game is not on Extra tomorrow between the Bison and Oral Roberts. We will have the game on Saturday when NDSU takes on Denver. Just a heads up on that. All right, we got to get going here because we got Bison Media Zone. So let's do some what to watch before we get out of here.